And you kind of slyly threw down there in the comments like, oh yeah, and keep an eye out for what's coming up.
There was a press release yesterday in Italy.
I will now read to you the official press release of the Khafre Project.
You are literally not going to believe what they've just found underneath the Khafre, the middle pyramid in Giza. I can't believe it myself.
They have discovered that there are enormous structures underneath the pyramid that go kilometers deep into the earth with coils.
There's a theory going round, and this is based on high-tech radar technology. They've taken kind of underground pictures using radar.
For our last story today, let's talk about the pyramids. They're massive, they're mysterious, they've been standing tall for 4,500 years, and according to a new group of scientists,
researchers announced there's a vast underground city hidden underneath the pyramid of Khafre in Egypt.
Huge structures discovered 2 kilometers below Pyramid of Khafre, close quote.
Speaking with Professor Filippo Biondi, who's also joined by investigative journalist and researcher Armando Mei.
Armando Mei, Corrado Malanga,
Dr. Nicole, Ciccolo, Professor Filippo Biondi, Dr. Armando Mei, and Professor Corrado Malanga.
Corrado Malanga, Professor Filippo Biondi.
Filippo Biondi and Corrado Malanga.
Corrado Malanga and Filippo Biondi, who is not active.
When were the pyramids built? Nobody knows. How were they built? Nobody knows. I can't get that out of my head. And again, I'm not pushing a conspiracy theory. I'm just noting what we don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, like, everyone's like, shut up. Shut up.
Are very secretive. They never want ground penetrating radar there. They're always trying to cover stuff up.
From all those who have worked or been involved in work on the Giza plateau, that the Egyptian authorities have orders to hide whatever is under the plateau and to block this knowledge, block the information.
Showing spiraling structures extending deep below the Khafre pyramid and across the Giza plateau. Now, these claims have since gone viral.
Almost 500,000 views, so viral video, essentially.
If it's real, it just changes absolutely everything. Everything.
But this structure is so large and so deep, even people like me who want to believe this are completely shocked.
Very excited to have got you all together to talk about what is either one of the great discoveries of modern times or a complete load of bullshit.
I think the Italian researchers' claims could still be valid. I don't think we should write them off initially by any means. And I think time will tell if this comes out to be
To be frank here, I think that I would love this kind of stuff to be true, but it is total bullshit.
Immediately trying to stripe something or label it or rate it is probably the worst thing we can do for not only information, but for civilization and for the knowledge of mankind.
Probably the most discussed archaeological topic of the year so far.
I'm not fixing to waste some air addressing an archaeologist that doesn't really know much about the data or how they got the data that they claim to have from under Khafre's pyramid. He just knows that he doesn't like it, so he's going to poo-poo it.
Very few people are aware of this, but we had to go through an arm and a leg back in the 1980s and 90s to get the permission to bring in technology, remote sensing technology.
But there's cavities, if I could call it cavities, all around the area, and many of them probably do go that deep.
So imagine if your little video game console could see through 3-4 walls. We showed examples on air where they were seeing people in the front yard shooting through 3 walls from the back of the house all the way to the front with a video game sensor.
What if the Italian team are actually onto something? What if there really is a hidden city under Khafre's pyramid? What if the Hall of Records exists and is packed with secrets? Secrets that could change everything we know about ancient Egypt.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to say welcome to you both. And my name is Trevor Grassi. I have Armando Mei and Filippo Biondi. And I want to thank you both so much for meeting with me. This is very exciting to finally speak with you both face to face. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you, Trevor.
Yeah. So we've been talking for a number of months through emails and messages, but finally we get to actually speak face to face. And yeah, I have a few questions here. we can get through as many as we can, but I know you guys are busy too, so we'll just see what we can get to for starters, but jump right into it basically. Um, so the first question I want to ask you is about the written report. Everyone is asking, is there going to be a peer-reviewed paper on all of these new discoveries? So I want to say, will there be a peer-reviewed written report on these new findings at Giza, and when do you expect at this point it will come out based on the current timetable you have? And will this report include many of the other tomography scan images that you've been talking about? Filippo, I know you mentioned 200 approximately different images you've been analyzing from different angles, and a lot of those haven't been released in the press conference yet. So I'm wondering, are these going to be in the written report, and when do you think that might come out?
Thank you very much for this question, Trevor. The answer is yes, we will do a peer review. We will write a peer review article about this work. But in my personal, we will do it, but in my personal opinion, is not mandatory. Why? Because according to the work performed together with Corrado Malanga in 2022, where we used the same approach to scan inside the Khufu pyramid. In this context, today we are using the same method. So usually we peer review in the field where I am researcher. So in the signal processing compound, usually we write a peer review letter or a peer review IEEE transactions to announce a new technique, no, or something better with respect to the state of the art, which has been previously published. We are using the same method, just applied to other a wider area, no, a wider area that now became started from Khafre and now became all the Giza plateau, because we found a lot of things. So it is necessary to perform a deep scanning in all the Giza plateau. Of course, yes, we the peer review process, but we are not anymore explaining people how the method works, because it's for me a bit, because the method, I did it, and it's for me a redundancy to speak always the same thing. How I do it, how we are applying the technique, because it's well written in the 2022 paper. And in other papers also that are in the past. We started on a IEEE paper with a research group that I was collaborating with, Professor Daniel Orlando, Pia, and Nicomino, that were a research group. Also today I work with them. So, and we started to exploit inside the buildings, something inside the buildings. So it was something that was burning up. Then I continued in exploiting inside volcanoes, because in Italy we have a very dangerous volcano, which is the Vesuvius. And so we shifted to the Khufu pyramids. So the technique is well now today. We can say that it is well established inside the scientific community.
Yeah, this is what I tell people is that already did happen in 2022. In case you missed it, the proof of this method was established, but yeah, still everybody's asking where's the written report for this one. So that's good to hear.
Yes.
But you're saying that might be maybe like out in June or July, something like that. The written report for this one might come out.
Maybe yes. I am alone, Trevor.
Mhm.
The hours of the days are limited, so the time is limited.
Yeah, well,
I
that's
can say
totally
yes, but
understandable.
I hope.
Yeah,
I am working massively in writing.
it's an estimate. Nobody's gonna get
Yes,
angry
an
at you
estimation.
because
But the
yeah,
thing that I want to say is this. Yes, it's good that all the world asks us how it works, the method, we want proofs, we want something to validation. Okay, yes, it's good. But I don't know why the same people of the world does not say anything to discuss the Scam Pyramid project. No?
exactly. Yeah.
It's the same. No? Why all the world is not saying anything to the Scam Pyramid project?
Yeah. And they were
Not
working there.
conviction. No?
Yeah, they were working there
Yeah.
a long time too.
Yes.
Above all, because after 10 years, they didn't present any kind of results in their investigation. They are spending lots of millions of dollars, but we have, after 10 years, we just received an information about a potential big void in the Great Pyramid that we don't know what is this big void. Is horizontal, is perpendicular. They presented this big void in any kind of feature. We don't know what is the height, or how is long.
Yeah.
Any kind of information after 10 years of investigation. But in the same time, in 1 year and a half, utilizing the satellite technology, we obtain a really important results. I have to say that technology works. Why? Because if the people and the scientific community can spend just 2 seconds to watch the structure of the tomb of Osiris and the correspective tomography, it's very clear that the technology works.
Yeah.
It's very clear because the tomography exactly to the structure of the tomb of Osiris. The only difference is that we discover that the tomb goes straight in the deep of the earth at 200 meters down, where there is another chamber to investigate.
200 meters. Wow. Yeah.
200 meters.
This was a very exciting to me because I had said just days before, you guys could actually scan the Osiris shaft and this would be a good way to prove the method. And then I said this in an interview that literally the day after was the day you released the press conference and released that image. So I was like, oh my God, they did it. I had no idea. But you also did the Gran Sasso laboratory, which was 1,400 meters deep, if I'm remembering correct. That is equivalent
Yes.
to the scans you showed at Giza as well. 1 to
Yes,
2
yes.
kilometers. So
Yes.
and then also the bridge or the dam you showed with the tunnel in it. So you've had 3 or 4 now absolute confirmations of the method showing that this method does work and you can see
But
the things we
I
already
have
know.
others. I have tens of
Yeah.
confirmation, but I am not. Why I have to show everything about my work?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Yeah, you
No?
think after
It's
enough of these examples, people would understand it's working.
why I have to show everything. And now we are working on the vertical shaft that are on the Giza plateau, those squared shaft that they are blocked with soil. I think no, you cannot go
Yeah.
in the depth. I am working there, and then we can see what will happen. In this moment, we are confident to say where can be a resilient entrance to go into Amenti.
Mhm.
We can say it, but we are confident
Mhm.
to go to indicate where we can catch the entrance into Amenti.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm very interested in, where the entrances are that actually go all the way down to this deep stuff. I might jump to another question just because we're already on the subject, out of order a little bit, but I want to ask about the Muon scans of 1968 only covered 19% of the volume of the Khafre Pyramid, though they indicated that by using these sensor plates, they could have scanned the whole thing. And this was written in the report about the Muon scans back then, that if they shifted these sensors, they could have sensed the entire volume of the pyramid. And you showed in your press conference that the upward pointed cone of that area they scanned upwards from Belzoni's chamber, that's what they're saying is actually only scanning 19% of the pyramid. And you showed that cone would have missed these structures that look like the King's Chamber and the Great Pyramid that are all around there. So a lot of people were still holding on to this. Why didn't the Muon scans prove it? But you actually did show that those would have missed it. So the question is it possible that they did scan the rest of it back then even, and maybe decided not to share all that information with the public? And why in the half a century, 57 years since then, has no one ever been able to scan it using muography? We're talking about G2, the Khafre Pyramid. And even more important, why are the Egyptians today still not doing that when it could easily prove or disprove the discoveries you guys are bringing forward? Do you think that some authorities may have already witnessed some of these structures below that pyramid or been into those spaces, or that there may have been some effort to keep those discoveries from being known, and possibly they did actually scan some more of it they didn't tell us about? And especially considering some of this evidence from NC2 that we're seeing connecting potentially from the west side, there's a possible suggestion that some of the authorities might have been in some of those caves that are beyond the end we know of NC2. So is it possible that they might have already known about some of these structures or even seen them with their own eyes? And why are people not recognizing that you guys did show in the conference that this cone going up would have missed all these structures within the Khafre Pyramid? Why have they never made it a priority to finish scanning it and only did 19%?
Yes, thank you for this question. I think it's very long. We will give an answer, me and Armando, because there is a technical answer, in my personal opinion, and a political answer, or an Egyptologist answer. You said that the first scanning inside the Khafre Pyramid was performed in 1968. So we have the technology of 1968. I don't know what I wasn't there during the measurements. So yes, there is the paper, a nice paper, but I think that the paper in this case is a bit old, no? So now the Muon scanning, I think, is performing again the measurements with more modern plates, so they have modern computers, and so maybe we will have some results by the Muon scan, by the Scan Pyramid Project. But the question, in my personal opinion, is always the same. Why we have to take as a Bible the Scan Pyramid Project results? I don't know. Our technique is like somebody, I can cite Sabine, the physics, no, that she did the bullshit her personal bullshit indicator. Okay, no. Okay, so we are bullshit and Scan Pyramid is the gold. It's gold. Okay? But on the other hand, the skull pyramid, which is the gold, didn't give any results. The bullshit is giving all the results. Why? This is a question. Why?
Yeah. It is like you said, the scan pyramids after 7, 8, 10 years, they only showed these very hazy zones around that chamber above the Grand Gallery, whereas you guys came out with your scans from satellite and you showed 20 structures completely defined, including the North Face corridor, which was the only other structure that the scan pyramid showed at all.
We did it before them.
And
we
showed
did it before.
Yeah, you showed what the North Face corridor looked like in 2022, and they showed us the footage in 2023. You guys were completely right, showing 20 structures in the pyramid.
But we are
bullshit.
Yeah, on the bullshit side, we are there at the borders, in the bullshit. Okay, that's good. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yes, Trevor, you were a good friend of John Anthony West. And many times ago, I shared some email with John Anthony West discussing about the possible dating of the Teptepi and so on. And what happened in the ancient past, much more distant from the dynastic period. And during our discussion, John Anthony West said, the Egyptologists pretend to know much more than the Egyptians themselves. This is the height of their arrogance. Now, discussing about Sabine and many others, including the TF1 France, they pretend to know much more than Filippo Biondi, for example, on the technology, on the satellite technology. They have never heard about SAR in the last 2 decades, this kind of people, and they pretend to now to know more about us that are specialists in this matter. So this is the height of their arrogance.
Yeah. Yeah, very well said. I think a lot of people are still wondering, oh, is this GPR? Is this like something else? And it's like, you're not even figuring out that it's SAR. And even the people who figure out that it's synthetic aperture radar are not figuring out that Filippo also created this innovation on what is normally considered the limits of or capabilities of SAR. And so very few people are even coming close to recognizing how new this really is and how it's been innovated on top of a technology they already kind of don't.
Yeah. In all the world, there are just 250 people that are really experts of SAR technology. Yeah. No one of them stated in the last month something against our research. No one stated something against our research. And for us, it means it is a very, very important detail to underline.
Yeah, definitely. Now, all of this, I'll say also that I'm going to be releasing a part 4 of my Secret Underworld of Giza series. And I'm going to get into a lot of this and cover a lot of this to help people see a lot of the misconceptions that are still out there. But I'm going to continue on with the next questions because I could tell we could spend a long time on each one. But this is one of the most important because I asked the public some of these questions in order to get some feedback from them and see what people were most interested in. And everyone was asking about scanning additional locations. Now, I know it sounds like you'll all be busy probably for the next year at least working on Giza, but can you elaborate on how long it might take to finish mapping out the Giza Plateau and what are the next highest priorities in terms of sites that you would want to scan after that? For instance, like the one that's very important to me is the Gosford glyphs in Australia. In the Karyong district, a friend of mine, Vicky Burke, is over working to protect these sites, and they're at risk from political and economic, interests and things like that. So, is it possible that you might focus on some of these sites that are currently being threatened by industrialization or zoning or political issues in order to bring some attention to those sites first that might have underground complexes? And I kind of have a whole list of different places that people have asked me, oh, are you going to look here? You know, the Bosnian pyramids, Gunung Padang, Göbekli Tepe, Teotihuacan. Many sites in Egypt as well. My own personal favorite is Hawara in Fayum. I would love to see scanned again. But would you consider possibly focusing on some of these sites that might be at risk more in order to bring attention to them? Or what would your plans be for after you're finished with Giza, and how long do you think Giza will take?
Well, you know that
Thank
we
you very
would
much
like
for this
to
question.
map all the world, Trevor, but all the archaeological sites, because they are very fascinating and interesting. And I believe much of many of the sites that you refers are connected with the Giza Plateau, or almost at the civilization, the ancient civilization, the global civilization, who precede our current civilization. Nevertheless, the Giza mapping project requires almost another year of hard job. And what is important is that we should succeed in upgrading and integrating our data processing machinery, because it's very, very important to make shorter the time frame.
Okay.
And once we obtain this kind of results, we can move forward in the detection of all the other sites. I believe that one of the most important could be Saqqara, and particularly the Serapeum area, because I don't know, but I feel that Saqqara could be connected with Giza.
Yeah.
Beyond Egypt, I believe that Antarctica holds significant potential for revealing unexpected discoveries. And at the same time, we received also contact from other team of research, for example, from Sacsayhuaman and Teotihuacan.
Yeah.
And of course, we are evaluating this possibility. But as I said, we must improve our machinery, because we need more devices to move forward in this kind of analysis. And at the same time, Mars, for example, could be very, very interesting target.
Yeah.
In order to solve the ancient quest about the region of Cydonia, for example.
Yeah.
Where very likely pyramids were built from someone in a very ancient site. Maybe, of course. So the satellite SAR technology could help us to shed light also on this kind of mystery.
Thank you, Armando, for this overview, because Armando remarked the very importance to have a powerful computer, because the software is highly computational demand. So we need energy and computers. A nice thing that he said was about Mars, because Mars works at least better, because Mars has the thickness of the atmosphere is very low with respect to the one of the Earth. So in my personal opinion, Mars can give us really a lot of successful. Thank you. Thank you, Armando.
Yeah, that's very interesting, of course. Even when we were speaking about John Anthony West back in 1993, his documentary, Mystery of the Sphinx, he actually brought in Richard Hoagland and had him talking about the face on Mars, the Cydonia region. And it's interesting. It's perfect because the question of the atmosphere being less dense or having more interference, perhaps, on the technology is very interesting. And that also leads into the next question I had, which is about, what can actually cause interference or affect the resolution of the scans. So
Yes.
I wanted to ask about, is this scanning method able to potentially detect different things underground in terms of potentially artifacts or water levels at various points on the plateau? Or does it give any indications beyond just relative density of materials as to the type of materials the structures are made of? For instance, the frames, let's say, of these tubes going down below the Khafre pyramid, do we know the materials potentially that could be made of, or the spirals running around them? And do you know, if any, what percentage of those structures under Khafre pyramid are submerged in water? And does the water affect the accuracy of the scans? And do you believe the ancients may have devised some kind of drainage system for some of those spaces, perhaps even for diverting water to underground streams of the Nile that we've heard of in different legends? Um, and so is it possible to really detect the water levels? What have you learned about the water levels? And is it even possible to detect other things like metals or gold or oil or things like that?
Thank you for this question. Very vast, that you are asking me a lot of things about the usability of
I
the
know
scanning.
this is a lot of different
Yeah,
questions in one, so just
yes.
answer whichever parts are. I know we can't get to everything, so.
Yeah, we can give several answers to give you an overview of what we are doing and of the technique also. So the technique uses a synthetic aperture radar to detect the vibrations that are located on the surface of the Earth. Because it's well known that the synthetic aperture radar data does not penetrate the Earth only a few centimeters, according to the radar equation. So what we are grabbing the surface vibrational trend of the Earth. We use a so-called Doppler sub-aperture procedure, which involves partially azimuth focusing of the synthesis trend along the orbit. And with this procedure, we synthesize the vibrations. The vibrations that are present on the surface. Once we have this kind of information, we try to invert the model in order to retrieve tomographic maps. So the tomographic maps, what are they? Are maps where we can locate the energy along the depth. Which kind of energy? Vibrational energy. So according to the physics, the acoustic information propagates where the matter is much more dense with respect to other bodies, no? Where we have bodies that are made with dense matter, in that case, the acoustic information propagates with more energy, more velocity, let's say that, more velocity. Is faster. So according to this, we are detecting the shapes of the structures or the consistency of the under terrain environment where we have more or less energy, no? Like that. So we can suppose where we have chambers, inside the chambers you have air, no? So they are dark, they look dark in the tomograms. Where you have the borders, it looks bright. And that's the procedure, dark and bright, no? When you ask me, it is possible to guess the specific material. In that case, I can't give you an answer because I'm working on it. We have to build up a so-called dictionary of vibrational trends, some fingerprint features of the most important materials of the Mendeleev table, maybe, let's say like that. I'm working on it. I don't know for now to give you a response, but we are confident to tell you that where there are structures, so empty spaces and not empty spaces, we are very confident to give you a map of those structures. Okay, so where can we see man-made features of the tomograms, let's say 90 degrees, changing of the path, something straight that maybe makes like that. Those are not natural, they are artificial.
Yeah.
It's obvious. Spirals like that, regular shapes. Okay.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, well, the next question I have is about potentially, and this is kind of more speculative because obviously we don't know, but about the actual potential function of some of these structures that we see underground. Like you're saying, we can see these right angles, these cubes you're talking about, something very clearly man-made under the Khafre Pyramid. Could this be potentially components of machinery, as some people have described, like Chris Dunn I've been talking with? He's one of the most famous, of course, within this hypothesis that the pyramids were related either to harvesting, storing, generating, or wirelessly distributing energy, either of electromagnetic or other forms, possibly like scalar waves or torsion fields or plasma. As we've seen, a study showed a giant plasma bubble over the pyramids recently. Or is it essentially a kind of Tesla coil tower? Do you think, based on the models you've built, if these are actually very accurate as to what these shapes look like, what do you think the functions could be of some of these structures that are below the Khafre Pyramid?
All this is very fascinating, Trevor, but the answer must be must follow a very scientific model of analysis, of course.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, to fully understand the function of the shafts beneath the Pyramid of Khafre, it's important to conduct direct explorations on the field.
Yes.
Without such investigation, we risk engaging in mere speculation. That is why I underline what is important, the scientific model of analysis. However, we can offer some preliminary hypotheses that we also suggest during the conference in Bologna, proposed by Professor Corrado Malanga, that is our team leader, the team leader of the Khafre Project. And he highlighted the two fundamental aspects. The first stems from an observation that has been largely overlooked. Because the three major pyramids rest upon a substantial limestone bedrock. No? And the known internal structure of the pyramids of Khafre, for example, is carved in directly from this limestone layer. This is very, very important because the only element that does not conform to this pattern is exactly the roof of the Belzoni chamber. And this discovery was made possible through the use of SAR technology. And this is very, very important because the limestone platform rests upon the shafts that descend into the earth, leading towards two immense chambers that you know are 80 meters for 80 meters, with precise angles. These shafts traverse those chambers, continuing their descent to depth at 1.2 kilometers. So the function of these shafts, maybe they support the weight of the pyramids that are based on the limestone that are directly in contact with the shaft. The second point, the second hypothesis, arise from the observed characteristics of certain shafts, which appear to be hollow and exhibit spiral formation along their interior walls. This observation has led us to speculate that these shafts may have been designed to facilitate the transmission of vibration from the earth to the surface. Of course, it's crucial to reiterate that a comprehensive understanding will only be achieved through the direct exploration. We are, of course, open to considering alternative hypotheses. We acknowledge the valuable contribution of researchers like Christopher Dunn, that made and is doing a great job on that matter. And he provided significant insight over the years. But I concur with your assessment, Trevor, that the complex likely served multiple purposes rather than a singular function. But I underline that it's very important to have the authorization to explore the underworld of Giza before to state what is the real function of the entire structure.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll ask you also, Filippo, but I'll agree with you, Armando, that I think there were multiple functions, and I do think the Egyptians should allow all three of you and also me and my friends to go and explore them personally. And actually, I know that I'm asking you to jump into the realm of speculation, and you're both scientists, so it's uncomfortable to go out into that realm of speculation, especially when you're trying to be so specific and keep it to what you know. So I appreciate you answering. But what do you think about this, Filippo?
Yes, I agree with Armando. For the moment, we can't say anything about the specific function of this structure that we found below the pyramids. But we can do some considerations that are these. We found the same structures behind or below each pyramid. So we can suppose that there is something that is the same, no, for each pyramid. And then the other thing that Armando said is we have to consider the Giza like something connected. So all the plateau, no, not only one pyramid or another thing here, no. Everything connected. And in my personal opinion, yes, a large circuit, something like that, a large structure. And we have to consider it connected. And the last thing that I feel to say is this. In my personal opinion, and this is my personal opinion, that I'm saying it to you, is that water can have a crucial role in this business. So the Giza plateau.
Yeah, definitely. Whatever it is, I think the water is very important, and we know of all these aqueducts that were bringing water back and forth to the Nile, to the pyramids. Some were aqueducts, some were actual tunnels meant to be kept dry, and that's very important.
Yes. And maybe in the conference that we are organizing in Bologna on December, we can say something about the function. Maybe we will be confident, not the function, one of the functions, maybe. We can we can we can suppose something there. We are studying it.
The
Interesting.
conference will be in Italian and English language. The conference of Bologna in December.
In December,
This is very
okay.
important. Yeah.
I haven't heard of that. That's news to me, so that's very interesting. I didn't know you were doing another conference in December.
In December, yes. And it's in both language, Italian and English.
Awesome. That's very exciting. And yeah, like you're both saying, I believe the whole of Giza Plateau that we can see above ground even is very clearly all one thing. It was designed by some singular designer. Everything about it speaks to me of being one giant, whatever it is, machine or complex. It's all clearly part of the same thing and had a very clear design from the start. It's like, you don't see whole cities just pop up with perfect designs in their streets without having a single designer. And it does tie in as well. I actually believe, and I've brought forward some evidence that it's tying with these underground tunnels throughout the entirety of Egypt, going the entire length of the Nile. And like you said, Armando, before, connecting to Ciccolo, we do already have proof that those tunnels do connect to Saqqara and beyond, because at least the account of Abdel Hakim Awiyan is one of the ones I keep citing. He's talking about being a child.
Yes.
One of his friends got lost in the tunnels under Giza that they were exploring, and he actually didn't come up to the surface again until he was at Saqqara. So he went from Giza to Saqqara underground. And this is in the past half century or so, when he was younger. And Hakim isn't alive anymore today, but he basically described in his lifetime seeing people actually go through it. And so this is going to take us to the next question is about the age of these structures. And I wanted to see what you both think in terms of, do you think the things that are underground are older than the pyramids themselves, and what's above ground, especially this stuff that's down to 1.2 kilometers and deeper? How do you think that compares to the age of the structures above ground? And do you think the structures above ground are even what the traditional Egyptologists tell us, fourth dynasty, or no? Or is the stuff above ground going back much earlier than the dynastic periods, and is the stuff underneath the ground even older, or what do you think relative to that the age would be? And this is again just speculation, because obviously we're trying to figure it out and nobody really knows, but what's the range or estimate you might have?
Well, starting from the assumption that the Giza Plateau and the monuments that we can observe on the Giza Plateau were not built during the dynastic age. This is the first point, the basic point from that we must start to analyze the entire complex of Giza. Regarding the subterranean structures, my hypothesis is that they represent a global project from above so below, as the god thought said. The commencement of the construction for the lower structures, of course, remain unknown. And what is evident, however, is that the entire Giza complex was built from the depth toward the surface. This is very key because it's impossible to do the job from the inverse points of view. Furthermore, it is possible that the subterranean construction predates the so-called Zeptepi, the first time of Osiris. Sorry, I opened just a little discussion about the first time of Osiris, because I believe that the Zeptepi is defined the first time of Osiris, that in my opinion is wrong, because it's the time when Osiris gave his powers to his son Horus, that is written in the Book of Death. So I believe that the Zep tape is the beginning of a new time under the rule of Horus and of the Shem's war in the time. Shem's Horus in the time. Nevertheless, the first time indicates the commencement of a new kingship with Horus, and I believe that the structures in the underground were built before that date. And more likely, I believe that the time must be catch between the 70,000 toward 40,000 before Christ. Why? Because something very important happened during 70,000 before Christ, the eruption of the supervolcano Toba. That was very striking for the humans in that period, that risked to wipe it out. And the survivors of the land that we are actually known with the name of Atlantis, they traveled towards the land of Kemet to restart their civilization in that point, and they, in my opinion, built the structures beneath the Giza plateau. This is, of course, an assumption, an hypothesis that we, of course, must show with the subterranean investigation. But this is my convincement, my hypothesis of study, and in the time we for sure achieve the results to show that it's possible. And this is the real story of our distant past.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Well, moving on from that, I was going to ask, what can you tell us about the rest of the plateau besides what's been revealed under the Khafre Pyramid? And can you give us any indication of the bigger picture at Giza, or explain more about, you were saying these same structures are below Khufu, Menkaure, and the Sphinx as well, or some similar structures like these tubes going down. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And have you analyzed any other tomographies extending down to that 2-kilometer level, or at least 1.2 to 2 kilometers, that we're kind of calling artificial structures because they appear to be some kind of secret city? What's the bigger picture at the plateau, and what else can you tell us about that, or some of the deeper stuff?
Yes. Thank you very much for this question, Trevor. We are working on this. We are working in scanning all the Giza plateau, so we need time. We have pictured some new things, and we are locate them on a map where we give to the audience on December when we will meet together. So we are now working, Trevor, on all the Giza plateau. We are picturing the shafts, but they are the shafts that are outside the pyramids, that we can see them by our eyes, no?
Yeah. Like all around the Sphinx Causeway.
Yes, there.
Campbell's Tomb and the Osiris shaft.
Yes, and we are finding a lot of things, so they go down, but now I can't say nothing. But in my personal opinion, those are crucial to some kind of things. And then because they are connected, everything is connected with, we call it like that, the things that are below the earth, the megachambers that are below the earth, we call them amenti.
Yeah, well, I noticed a couple things in the press conference that nobody else has been commenting on yet, but you can rest assured they'll be in my film coming soon. you did show some tomographies, like one that cuts straight from the Khafre pyramids right over to the Sphinx.
Yes.
Now, I haven't heard anyone talking about this, but that's
Yes.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
And there was also one of the tomographies that you showed under the Khufu pyramid, under the Great Pyramid, that did show it looked like a central column that was even bigger.
Like that.
Huge central column coming down.
Yes.
That's what it looked like to me.
Yes.
Nobody's talking about this at all. I think a lot of people have missed that your press conference even came out. And I saw yesterday, I was so excited. We got the English version came out yesterday. Which,
Sorry, because it was a bit man-made, with our
That's okay.
possibility, like that. We did it. It's nice, but it is.
Yeah, no, it came out very
It's not
well.
professional. It's not professional. Let's say like that. But
No, but
it's
you
good.
did a great job, especially with English being your second language. Everyone is really appreciating that you're making an effort to bring it forward to the English audience. And honestly, the subtitled version was fine for me. I got the point. But we really appreciate the English coming out now, which was just April 12th. It was yesterday. Today's the 13th. So we've got the English version now. And yeah, some of those things, you did show one of the scans that's actually under the Great Pyramid. And I don't know if people have really caught on to that yet. People are like, when are they going to show us the rest? I'm like, you guys missed a lot of what has already been shown here. So yeah, it's very exciting stuff that people, I'm going to be putting a lot of this into my film, as I said, and making sure people are understanding that a lot more of it is coming out. But now you're telling me in December, you're going to be doing this press conference that's going to show a lot more of the whole plateau.
Yes.
So that's very exciting to hear. Now, next question I want to ask is, has the Ministry of Antiquities and Tourism or anyone within it offered any interest whatsoever in either cooperating or at least encouraging you to pursue this research or other types of non-invasive methods that could be used to learn more about the underground structures and the origin of civilization? Have any of the professionals, any of the Egyptologists, archaeologists, or members of the ministry expressed any interest whatsoever in your project?
Well, as you know, during our press conference on March 15, we extended an invitation to the Egyptian Minister of Culture.
Okay, your video got shut off again too. I don't know if that's
yes, we have received no formal response, of course. And to date, we have reviewed the statement made by Zaki Awas, Dr. Awas, through various media outlets. And these statements, in my opinion, exhibit a strongly polemical tone. We don't deem it appropriate to engage in such provocations, but we feel it's important to state that the declaration he has made appears to be based on inaccurate information he has received. And we have never deployed a radar inside the pyramids. Our work has utilized satellite orbiting this base. And that is why our primary focus remains in anyway on the results obtained through scientific research. We hold Dr. Zaki Awas in deep respect for his significant contributions to the preservation of Egyptian heritage and his commitment to reconstructing the story of the dynastic age. Nevertheless, our views regarding the pyramids diverge substantially. And he appears to favor hypotheses lacking evidentiary support, while we rely on concrete data derived from scientific inquiry. So, contrary to any assumptions, we want consistently maintained an open dialogue with all parties, including Dr. Awas. We do not fear scrutiny, as our position is grounded in the robustness of scientific research. We are very sure of our results, and we are ready to discuss with the scientific community and with Dr. Zaki Awas as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, Zahi's statement, it was kind of it was mostly irrelevant because nobody had suggested that you had brought radar into the site or needed permission or any
Yeah.
access to the site. So we were kind of like, well, this is pretty much expected, the kind of reaction that we could have expected from the ministry or from Zahi. But it really didn't say much at all because, nobody was claiming there was ground-based technology being used. So, yeah. All right. I'll bring it to the next question, which I think is more.
Sorry, Trevor, sorry. I just want to say that my battery is low. That is why the camera is not
Okay.
doesn't work because
That's
the
okay.
battery. Okay.
Yeah, we'll just put a picture of you or something. No worries.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this one would be, I think, for Filippo more. Could the SAR technology and the innovation, what we're calling the Biondi protocol, is that's from Mani Safe Today, our friend Mani Safe Today, brilliant guy, and we've been calling it the Biondi protocol because this is the innovation you brought to synthetic aperture radar. That really has allowed it to reach these depths, going very deep and get this kind of accuracy. So, could the Biondi protocol be applied to other industries or purposes? For instance, a lot of this work you've done over the last 30 years or so, in other fields, such as in order to save lives potentially by examining infrastructures of bridges or tunnels or building foundations that might need repair. Is there more range of application for this patent? I believe the patent is still being filed now, right? It's waiting for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Trevor, for this question. The answer is yes, absolutely. I want to say that the so-called Biondi protocol, the
I love
Synthetic
that
Aperture
title,
Radar,
by the way. It sounds like an
per
action
favore.
film or a Mission Impossible movie or something. Biondi protocol.
The Biondi protocol. Why born? Because in Italy we had a famous bridge, an old bridge called the Morandi Bridge in Genoa. This bridge collapsed abruptly, like that, collapsed, and there were a lot of injured. So, in my opinion, I had to do something in order to prevent this kind of collapses. And in the field of synthetic aperture radar, there are a lot of state-of-the-art techniques that are based on synthetic aperture radar interferometry that gives absolutely a great contribution to infrastructure monitoring. My technique was designed to fill empty gaps, maybe to be fitted on bridges in order to estimate the vibrational trends of the bridge and estimate the so-called coherence domain of vibrational coherence domain of bridges in order to study the bridge dynamically, no? Because we know that when a bridge gains the resonance frequency can collapse. So that this technique was designed to do this. I wrote also a lot of papers, scientific papers on this. Then we tried to move more in front. So once we have estimated, we have applied the so-called Biondi protocol for on the bridges. We wanted to see if was possible to scan below the Earth, and we found that it was possible. And so, in my personal opinion, this can be used for detection of crude oil pockets below the Earth, and so for oil extraction, and also for mining also. But I have to tell you always that for the moment, it's not possible to locate where metals are. So it is not possible. We can examine the condition of what there is below the earth, and so according to a deep analysis of our results, a geological analysis of our results, it can be possible to help the community also for mining. So crude oil, mining, infrastructure monitoring, what we want, we can use it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like $1 trillion patent, and I hope it is for your sake. Because honestly, it
Thank you
sounds
very
like
much.
it could help the world in so many ways. And to me, archaeology is one of the most important. I'm most interested because I believe there are these underground cities, not only under Giza, but I've actually spoken about at least 5 or 6 of them that I have heard from actual Egyptians who are guides and Egyptologists and archaeologists. They're all telling me these tunnels are being found out in very rural places. There's a secret city, several of them in the Minya district on both sides of the river connected under the Nile, under Luxor, down to Abydos and Aswan. There are all these things. And I often tell people, I think 90% of Egypt or more is underground still. And we've only seen maybe 10%, maybe 5% above ground.
The tip of the iceberg. The pyramids are the tip of the can be the tip of the iceberg. We can study absolutely other things on the Earth, and also study maybe something on Mars. Who knows? We can do it.
Exactly. Yeah, well, that's a good segue to the next question too, because I was gonna take it cosmic here and say again that I'm asking you scientists to step out on a limb a little bit to talk about some more speculative side of this at this point. But basically, these structures you're showing underneath the pyramids, is there any known civilization in human history that is even close to capable of creating a structure like this? And could it be related to these structures we're seeing on the surface of the moon or Mars? Is it possible that it does tie in with extraterrestrials, or extraterrestrial civilizations might have built these on Earth? Is that potentially implied by the fact that we know of no known human civilization in the past that would have been capable of that level of magnitude of construction project? And as I bring this topic up, I want to say also, when people tend to say, oh, aliens built the pyramids or whatever, they want to jump to these conclusions. Is it possible that it's not really taking the credit necessarily from cultures that are there in Egypt, the ancient Kemetic, and the Arabs and the different cultures that have been in that land all these different times? It's often said, when people just say, oh, aliens built the pyramids, it's kind of taking the credit. But I think if we're talking about the Anunnaki and the Atlanteans and some of these looking into other sources of who they might have been or where they came from, is it possible at least that it was an interplanetary culture that was building the same monuments on Mars, as you said earlier? The potential, at least, of that. And has this subject in general of even the mention of possibly having extraterrestrials being involved in this ever used to actually try and delegitimize this scientific research you are all doing? Can you mention a little bit about that in general and how it's affected the work? Or what do you think about it?
As you know, I usually follow a scientific model of analysis, of course, before to express results of my investigation. And along the time, I read hundreds of theories suggesting the possible interference of extraterrestrial in the construction of the pyramids of Giza. But my question is, why extraterrestrials? It's not possible that the pyramids were constructed by human beings, inhabitants of this planet. What do we know truly about our human past? Even the Darwin's theory presents certain lacunes. Therefore, I incline toward the existence of a preceding civilization, but made of human beings. The extraterrestrial hypothesis is, of course, just only an hypothesis, awaiting a scientifically acceptance resolution. It may be that both humans and extraterrestrial made the job, but we need to achieve the correct results before state that there was something different that we can understand. So it's possible that in the past there was a human, in my opinion, civilization that built the pyramids.
Yeah. Right. Or maybe humans are extraterrestrials. Maybe there are humans on other planets too.
Maybe
humans
both,
around Mars
yes,
building
maybe
stuff
both.
too.
But of course, we need to prove that can show that the pyramids were built by the extraterrestrial too.
Yeah.
In this case, I think that humans build the preceding civilization was made by humans, and the preceding civilization, in my opinion, built the Giza Plateau, the monuments on the Giza Plateau, and the most intriguing and mysterious sites all around the world.
Okay.
Because I think it was a global civilization.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you want to add something to that, Filippo, or move on?
Yeah, so what can be said is this, in my personal opinion. We now do not know for sure whether the plateau of Giza, the Giza plateau, was built by aliens or humans. But there is one thing is certain. So to build the iceberg, not just the tip of the iceberg required significant technology.
Yeah.
That there are no doubts about this. Because to build everything, you have to start from below and then go up. To do something like that, you need technology.
Yeah, exactly. Serious technology, like you're saying. Actually, do you know offhand what's the approximate diameter of those tubes, the 8 wells?
We said it at the conference. Now I don't remember. Corrado announced the diameter.
I remember.
I don't want to say something that is different from the conference, Trevor.
I do remember.
But they are meters. But I don't remember the number. Maybe 8 meters, I think, but I'm not sure about this.
Yeah.
The diameter of each tube that goes down.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to add some few words about what Filippo was saying before. If the people goes to visit the museum of that refers to the Egyptian civilization in old world, in Turin, New York, British Museum, and so on, they can watch at the tools that was used during the Old Kingdom, during the Fourth Dynasty. Just semi-primitive tools in wooden hammer and copper tools. How did they could build the pyramids and all the monuments on the Giza Plateau with such tools. It's impossible. That is why just a logical analysis of these elements could give us a precise answer on the mystery of the Giza Plateau and of the pyramids too.
Yeah. I have seen the, I don't know if you're speaking about the Museum of Civilization, which is a new one in Cairo. I've been to that one as well as the gem that just opened, and both of them have some of these very early tools. And some of them they're saying on the tags in the museum that these are going back even to millions of years or many hundreds of thousands. But yeah, I think what we're all kind of agreeing on right here is that these chefs were not carved with chisels, basically. There was a greater technology than copper chisels or pounding stones, come on. Ridiculous.
Yes, I wonder how the Egyptologists still continue to state that the pyramids were built by during the Fourth Dynasty. It's really unbelievable. How is it possible that they follow this path? They have the clear evidence, studying the tools used during that period, that it was impossible to build the pyramids with this kind of techniques, but also to extract a block of granite in the quarry of granite of 10 meters for 5 meters with a weight of 17 tons. How is it possible to do this kind of job with that tools? It's impossible. So I believe that we must analyze this topic with the ratio. This is very important to use the mind, the brain, before state this kind of inconsistent statement by the Egyptologists on that matter.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe can be a hard issue to build them now today with our technology. I don't know if we can if we will be able to do it also today.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah, there was definitely some kind of technology that was pretty advanced. And I will say as well that, in the future, I'm going to get into a series very soon that's going to look not only into the technology of, how are they going to lift that unfinished obelisk out of Aswan Quarry that was 1,400 tons or whatever. But it's not just the size of the stones they used. It's also the math and geometry and concepts of physics and the speed of light and some of these things that get into that there are many actual versions of this or encryptions of the speed of light into the Great Pyramids, not just the one that most people think of in the latitude. But me and my friend Gary Osborne, he's actually discovered 9 different ways in which the actual structure of the Great Pyramid encodes the speed of light. So there's very advanced math, physics, and science that are built into the structures, encoded into them, basically, that I think also proves that it came from an extremely advanced civilization. I think beyond basically the knowledge of any other civilization we know of in history. And like you both say, it is present globally, even in Mexico and Peru and, the Far East. Anyway, we'll keep moving on here because I know we've already been going over an hour. And if you guys are okay with it, I have just like maybe 3 more questions or 4, if that's okay. This one's kind of important. In the years to come, what type and magnitude of impact do you believe the continual revelations of the Giza underworld will have on the world, spiritually, intellectually, politically, economically, or religiously? If we find records or technology below ground at Giza, what content do you think it might cover, or what function might some of this technology, if you want to call it that, be applied to? And how do you think this might affect the worldview of humanity or the institutions that may have been telling the world a story that might be proven untrue by some of this information? And could that potentially cause hostility between institutions that have been kind of selling this story that might be challenged. Have you seen opposition to your work from institutions like that that might be threatened by the revelations you're bringing forward?
Thank you for this question, Trevor. Yes, we found people with us and people against us. I think all of the debunkers were confutating our results, but that is normal because it's their job, ugly job in my personal opinion. We found one national newspaper which was Telefrance 1 that injured us, so maybe we are taking a formal how you say when we informed our lawyers to do something against them. So that's the opinion we have to do it. Then we found a debunker, which she is, I don't know if she's a debunker, I don't know, but she's a physicist, a doctor. I don't know how to pronounce her surname. The name is Sabine, that in my personal opinion, injured us. She made a YouTube video indicating an analog device with an indicator of the bullshit, and that it's absolutely not good. We have informed our lawyers so to eventually pay what she said. Okay. I never made a YouTube channel with my indicator of the bullshit on her job. So I don't know why she did about our job. Maybe she can make it is better, in my personal opinion, it's better that she redraw that video.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion.
There's a lot of people that really just make their careers out of trying to make themselves look more intelligent by explaining that they're smarter than other people who are, experts like you have spent 30 years or more, I believe, in working on this radar technology. People are like, oh, some people have asked me, are they going to have, professionals in this field to talk with about this? And it's like, they are the professionals in the field, everyone. Put this together. You are one of the most experienced scientists working with SAR technology. And I see this very often.
I tell you,
other friends. Yeah, that some people just, they think they can get more followers by putting other people down to try and make themselves look smarter. But most of the time, they actually have no grounds that they're bringing to actually debunk someone. So it's just name calling, basically, to try and get more popular. It's very frustrating. So are you still there? Okay.
Yes. I tell you. Ancient Architects, that is against us, was absolutely more polite with respect to Sabine.
Yeah, I should say also, he's a friend of mine, kind of. I've talked with Matt Simpson before, and I think Ancient Architects, he makes really great films. But in this case, I think he was actually a little more critical you guys than you deserve, because fact is, I actually talked to him about it. I was sending him messages, and he was upset that you had deleted his comments from your Facebook page. So I wrote to Armando. I said, Matt was upset about this. Is there anything you can, tell him? And Armando wrote me back, and he said, yeah, there was absolutely nothing personal. We weren't deleting his comments. We weren't allowing any comments on the Facebook page because this isn't a stage for debate. It's a place to present the scientific material, which is an absolutely reasonable response. And to be honest, I sent that response from Armando directly back to Matt Simpson. I was like, this is the case. They said, you can email them. I gave him your emails and said, just write to them and ask them about this stuff if you have questions. And but it was a day or two later, he came out with this video, and he says in the video, they deleted my comments. And I'm like, come on, man. I did just tell you, Armando responded to you personally and said, this wasn't deleting your comments. We just don't want to have comments on the page, which makes sense. So,
Trevor, sorry, I about Matt Simpson, as many other skeptics all around the world, before to leave statement about our technology and the results of our investigation, before to leave statements without understand anything about the technology that we used, the professional path they have to follow is to ask us to discuss with us in a round table. We discuss about our technology, we explain how it works, and then they can leave their conclusions. But if they state about our technology without understanding anything about that, so in this case, we call them just only debunkers, not even more skepticals, because I can be skeptical about the function of technology without understanding how it works. So they are just only the bankers, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like I say, I do think that Matt makes amazing films. I have so much respect for him. And I think for the most part, he was bringing up decent points in his film. But I think he was a little overcritical. And I would have suggested that he wait for responses from you guys. Like you said, you wanted to get inquiries written down to respond to, because English is not your first language, and you want to make sure you're answering all this correctly. So I'm telling everyone, if they have questions, they should email them to you. There is the email address listed on Nicole's YouTube page. So I tell people, just write to you guys and be patient, wait for a response, because obviously you're very busy. But yeah, there are debunkers, and then there are skeptics. And yeah, skepticism is always healthy in science, especially with new techniques coming out, and people want to know more. And I'm reminding people as well, there's some people out here that are just straight up saying, this is absolutely a hoax. These guys must have made this up, CGI or AI completely from, because they would have to say you're completely making it up from scratch if they're not at least accepting that the scans themselves are real, which show all these 90-degree angles and whatnot. So a lot of these people, I have to remind them, for one thing, how can you possibly say that a technique which is still proprietary, like not even disclosed to the public, the actual patent you have, how can you disprove a patent that's not even publicly disclosed? A process that you can't even know all the details of, how can you say it's fake? It doesn't make any sense. So a lot of the real scientists are at least saying, we're going to wait for more information and we're going to see where it goes. But very few are still out there saying, oh, we know it's a hoax or whatever. They have no grounds to say any of that. So I think over the coming years, it's going to get fewer and fewer of those dissenting voices as you all release more and more of the evidence. But I guess, just a couple more questions here. And this is a quick one here, but just in case either of you want to speak to the role of transparency within archaeology and the importance of that, as opposed to censorship and compartmentalization or classification of this information, or covert operations going on that the world is not shown about, as it applies to Egypt and globally. Why do you think Dr. Hawass and the ministry and the entire global mainstream news of the world have all failed to mention your discoveries in the Great Pyramid in the 3 years since 2022, when that peer-reviewed paper was released, despite it consisting of this hard scientific data proving the existence of what is, in my view, the greatest discovery in the history of the world, not just Egypt. What you all found in the Great Pyramid was absolutely mind-blowing to me. It was astonishing and incredible. So why has the entire mainstream media of the planet still not reported on your 2022 report? And if there's anything you want to say in general about censorship or transparency within archaeology, I find this to be a very important issue. So anything you'd like to say about that?
Beh,
Filippo, e tu?
Trevor, I really don't know why. I don't know why they did not report anything after the 2022 paper we had, so we published it. I don't know why. That's my answer. I don't know.
That's my answer also, to be honest.
I don't know.
Understand. This is why I originally reached out to you all through Corrado. You know, and it was only just a few months ago I did make contact with you last year, but I was reaching out basically to say, why hasn't the world paid attention to this? Me and like guys like Manu Seisede and other friends, we saw it immediately, and we're
Or maybe I can know
an
answer. And it recasts with to the thing we said before. Here we have the Scan Pyramid project, and here we have the so-called Biondi protocol. Biondi protocol is located at the borders because I don't know why. Here we have the Bible, and here we have the Biondi protocol at the borders. That's the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it goes back to the other question I had asked earlier, which is, does this information or the information it could lead to or the discoveries that could be under Giza threaten the narrative that is basically upheld as religious or scientific or historical dogma that's being held to with this whole concept of the world that we have been told, and really all these institutions have been entrenching themselves into those views to the point where it's very difficult for anyone in those fields to acknowledge an alternative that would absolutely topple the world's understanding of who we are and where we came from. So I think there's going to be a lot of resistance from that side of things. Now, I just have two more questions at this point, and thank you so much for staying with me, because I know we're going well over an hour at this point, but this is all so important to me, and I think to the rest of the world as well. And this one is a little bit selfish because it relates to some of my own work. I'm interested to ask you if you've learned anything about the plateau that relates to the work that I've been doing with William Brown and Richard Gabriel, which is, I'm going to share my screen to show you this image quick, so you can see what I'm talking about. Can you see this picture here?
Yes.
So William Brown is this very good friend of mine. We've been working together at the plateau for a long time, a few years, but we've both been obsessed by it for like 2 decades approximately. And Bill has been working right here in the village of Nazlet El Saman at a property that he actually owns personally. We call it the horse stable. That's what it was before he bought it. And we know that underneath here is there are 2 tombs that have 3 tunnels leading out. We know that they head over this direction through the wall and over towards the Sphinx. And we believe they might very likely access some of these potentially record chambers, according to Edgar Casey's information and all this other information we've been studying. And then up in the north, there is the Khufu, they call it the Khufu Causeway. Another causeway, like the Sphinx Causeway here, is coming off of the Great Pyramid and going off into the village here. And in this area where it reaches into the village, we have discovered Bill has really brought forward this entire temple complex that's underground, which we've learned about through eyewitnesses who were digging in the basement of their house. That's before this entire section just got demolished in 2021. All this was all houses too. And people were digging in their basements and finding stuff. And finding tunnels that actually led straight west over to the Great Pyramid from here. There was one from here, and a couple more coming in from the east. So this question is, what, if anything, have you learned about this eastern end of the plateau? Have you done any tomographies that might correlate to some of this work that Bill and I and our friend Richard Gabriel are starting to uncover in the eastern end of the plateau?
Low energy.
Okay, looks like we lost Armando there.
We lost Armando.
That's okay. We can ask him later, but yeah, if you want to.
Trevor, I am not an Egyptologist, so I am an engineer, so I can't give you results about, but what I can say is this, my compliments about your work, because it's really very interesting what you are doing. As I am not an expert, so I am an engineer, so I'm not in deep with what you are doing here. But maybe absolutely, I am absolutely certain to tell you that one day our tomographies with your work will be connected, because in scanning all the Giza plateau, absolutely we arrive here, and so we can see what there is inside these horse stable project, access to the Sphinx Hall of Records, and this other temple project, access to the Great Pyramid. So maybe we can do it. If you send me, if you can, I don't know, some information. I think you sent us some information about the geographical location of your studies. Maybe we can do something. No, that's not a problem, in my personal opinion.
Oh.
Yes, just to add some few words, what Filippo was saying is that actually we are focusing the Khafre Pyramid, but also the west of the Giza Plateau, because we believe that the west of Giza is a crucial role in this narrative. That is why at the moment we are focusing on that area of Giza and not on the east of the Giza Plateau. Also because I believe it's almost known what lies under the Sphinx and in the area in its perimeter. But the west of Giza is very, very interesting. And we believe that it is closely connected to the structures that we are detecting actually in the underground of Giza, just beneath the Khafre Pyramid. Of course, we need time because the detection is very young, but we believe that along this year we can achieve interesting results that could shed light also on that topic. And we can show the results scientifically obtained to all people, to all humankind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For all mankind. Yeah. Well, I think you also both kind of answered that question earlier on when we were talking, when you said that in December you're going to be revealing a lot of these other scans that we haven't seen yet. So, I'm going to, of course...
It's just a joke for all humankinds and for all Mars kinds.
Martians too. Okay, yes, exactly. We are not actually excluding any potential extraterrestrial civilizations or non-human populations. We are actually inclusive of the entire universe, not just all mankind. Thank you for clarifying that. Because I think it could even potentially, who knows, this could be affecting more than just planetary life here on Earth. So this is amazing, and I've really gotten through. I just have one last kind of simple question to end on, and then we'll just wrap it up. Is the reaction that you've seen from the world to these discoveries what you thought it would be? And what do you each believe personally to be the most important things that the world needs to hear right now or know about related to this situation for the time being? Maybe the most important misconceptions that are out there that you could clear up, or what do you think it's most important to tell the world now in terms of just giving a final statement for this whole interview? I'll let you both address this and just kind of wrap up your most important thoughts about it all.
Okay. What we can say for now, we are working. We are working a lot. We are performing a lot of scannings. We have to collect data because scientific data, is the perfect recipe in order to understand the past, understand what we are doing, and understand the past. Because understanding the past, we can understand who we are. Because humans don't know who are they. We don't know who we are. Who are we? We don't know. So understanding the past through the work that we are doing now, through data exploitation, we can build our future. Only understanding who we are.
Yeah. That's a very brilliant answer that I agree with so much because that's exactly how I often put it. And I'll hand it to Armando in a second, but I just want to agree with you on that I think this is what is actually under Giza in whatever form it takes in records and technology and artifacts. I believe it is something that can teach humanity the truth about who we are. And it could bring a level of self-awareness, which we talk about often on an individual level, but it's about collective level of self-awareness for who we are as a human race, for who we are, where civilization originated, where we as a species potentially originated. And I think there's nothing that could possibly be more important for the world right now besides
right now,
this.
now, in this period that we are living. Yes.
We have a cultural amnesia, as Graham Hancock always says. We've forgotten these parts of who we really are, and this could bring it back. I think that's so important, and I'm so grateful you said that. So I'll give it to Armando. What do you think about that last question?
In my opinion, the only way to solve the quest about the Giza pyramid and about the most mysterious sites all around the world is to follow a very easy path. To join the archaeological experimental models with a high technology. This is the only way to move forward and to understand and discover what happened in our distant past. And meanwhile, I suggest to the Egyptologists to visit the quarries of granite. Maybe it will be more clear that their statement about the constructions of the pyramids is totally incorrect. We must follow the path of science and not the path of hypotheses that are learned through a large quantity of students and kids how the pyramids were built, that were tombs and so on. This is totally incorrect, and we must follow the path of science before to achieve the correct results, showing that pyramids were built for a preceding civilization and that humankind follow a different path since the very old origins.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
Thank you, Armando.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And like I say, we still have these historians telling us that Christopher Columbus was the first one to cross the Atlantic. So no, these pyramids in Mesoamerica and South America had nothing to do with the ones in Egypt or Asia, or any other continent. No, of course not. They came up with this on both sides of the world, completely out of their own heads. Hey, let's build these trans-dimensional shaped objects, that are massive, huge, megalithic stone buildings that are oriented perfectly the direction. No, they had the same idea on both sides of the Atlantic. They never met each other. We're beginning to see those kinds of theories that are still upheld by the academic community still in place when we have so much evidence that it's absolutely absurd to actually still believe that there could have been no contact before Columbus or our most recent age of exploration. So I think that both of you and Corrado as well are on the threshold of bringing forward some of the most compelling evidence that the world has ever seen, and pushing this line back to where nobody can still say, like I say, nobody can say that these structures that hopefully will get down underground to be able to see firsthand soon enough were carved by chisels, were carved by primitive technology, were created in any sense by these primitive cavemen just kind of crawling out of this Neolithic revolution and just starting to learn how to have a civilization, building these most advanced monuments that we could certainly not reproduce today with all of our technology. So I thank you both for those answers and for all the time you've given right now to answer all of these questions. I'm so grateful to finally be talking with you both, and I'm so grateful for all the support and connection and correspondences we've had over the last year. It's been so fun and inspiring and exciting to see you guys bring this forward. I just want to say, I'm so grateful that I've been able to be a part of it. And also, I don't know how it happened that I ended up being the one to release all this to the world. But it seems like I thought everyone was going to release this abstract who was attending the conference, but I ended up being the only one to let it out. And I don't know how that worked out, but it seemed like there was you put some level of trust in me to let this go out, which I really appreciate, because it kind of got me a lot of attention to William Brown and to Richard Gabriel, who have been doing such great work. And I'm really grateful for that I am not a representative of the Khafre Project in any way, but I am very, very honored to be helping you guys get this message out, and that you told me before the conference to get ready for it, because I did need to mentally prepare, and I've been excited for it for a long time. But what you brought out on the 15th and 16th was, wow, I had been waiting for a long time for this level of revelations about what's down there. I'm mentioning to people, with AI and the technology out there today, you can't even trust any photograph you see. You can't even trust any video that you watch. It can all be fake. But what you guys are bringing forward is actual scans that can be seen from so many angles that can be tested, you know, and another team can actually come in and use a similar technology at some point. Whether it's we'll see if Mani today can crack the Biondi code himself, or if our friend who's been very thoroughly analyzing this into all the, you know, innovations that you've brought, Filippo. And yeah, or potentially if somebody with an NDA, you know, non-disclosure agreement, could use the protocol, the Biondi protocol, to do a secondary objective scan and reproduce the results from an independent team separate from you all. This as well would be very important. And again, just a couple last things wrapping it up here. Again, you know, I really would shift the proof of the burden of proof back to the Egyptian authorities, because like I say, they have not done muon scanning in the Khafre pyramid since 1968. 57 years they've had this technology. And if they really wanted to tell the whole world that you guys are wrong and fakes and it's a hoax, they could just do the muon scanning in that pyramid right now, right? So I think it's on them to explain why they only scanned 19% of it back in 1968 and never scanned it again. And I think it's, yeah, I think you have put forward your evidence, you've put forward your proof of the method, you've got more coming out this whole year, which is so exciting. So yeah, I would shift it back to the ministry and say, if you think that this science coming from these three great scientists is actually illegitimate, then just go do the muon scans already. You know, what are you waiting for? Prove it or disprove it. Why won't you show us the other 81% that you say you can scan, if you really think that this is all fake and not, you know, going to pan out? Otherwise, give us a permit. Let us go down there. Let us go down and see it. You know, what's the harm? I know we've talked about some of the work William and I have been doing and Richard is very clearly leading us to at least 3, 4, 5 different entrances potentially to these structures that you guys are discovering, which is why we're hoping, hopefully in the future, we can work together on some of this. But anyway, I've kept you for a really long time now, and I appreciate you extending over our 1 hour that we were going to talk. And I know that you're both going to be meeting up with me in person in North Carolina in June for the Cosmic Summit Conference, which is very exciting, and I'm hoping we'll get time to talk more there in person. Maybe at the hotel we can record another interview if you guys are both down. And there's much more coming later in the year that is less confirmed, so I won't mention yet, but there's some other exciting events potentially and things coming up by later in the year. So I think we'll be able to talk more.
We can't wait to share this experience with you all at the Cosmic Summit.
Yeah.
We can't wait.
Awesome. Well, thank you both again so much for this time here. I'm going to look forward to definitely getting to hang out in person and talk about a lot more and hopefully do more interviews. I know our friend Jay Anderson's going to be there as well, who did a great interview for me and used all my footage, made a brilliant film on his channel with all my footage from Egypt and the interview with me. And then surprised me a week later. I had just put out an announcement saying, I'm going to do the first English interview with Armando and Filippo. And he comes out that night and is like, I'm premiering it. And I'm like, oh man, he beat me to it. But that's great. That's great. I was so excited. He did a really great job on the interview with you both. And I know that you've also got one other English interview just came out as well a couple days ago. So this is the third interview you're doing in English, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, well, again, I'm going to thank you so much for bringing this to the English audience, especially when I know it's not your first language, but you've both expressed yourselves so well and really covered so many of the points that I think are really important here. So thank you both so much.
Thank you, Trevor.
Again.
Thank you for...
Thank you to you, Trevor.
for everything.
Yeah,
Looking
so
forward.
welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you for all your great work. This has been years you guys have been working on bringing this forward for all the universe, not just mankind.
Yeah.
I love the motto.
For all universe.